What's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, welcome to my channel. Just want to say thank you for clicking on the video. Mafia family, go ahead and like the video. You know what time it is, man. You know, YouTube don't show me that much love. They don't put my videos nowhere. And the Mafia family show a like, man. So throw a like on this video. I appreciate it. So I went to to see this movie last night, real late. I don't know what I just needed a moment. So I was like, let me just hit the movie up real quick. But I saw the movie. I had really high expectations for this movie. I'm not sure why exactly. I saw the trailer the very first time I saw it. I was just like, all right, you know, whatever. Saw the trailer a second time and was like, they might be onto something. Saw the trailer a third time. I was like, okay, all right, I got to see this. And the reason I wanted to see this film is because it mixed a lot of my favorite genres of film. It had comedy, horror, and special effects. So those three things are three aspects of a film that I really, really, really enjoy. I love comedy movies, love horror films, and I really love films that take great effect or use special effects effectively. And, you know, I looked it up and it seems like this movie had a gigantic budget, $65 million. All right. Now, my review or my number or numerical review for this film is a 6.8. I like a lot about it, which is why I gave it a score that's above average, which would have been a 5. I like the fact that it had a lot of gore, and I hate to say that because I'm a God-fearing man, but I don't know. I like gory films if it's done tastefully. This film had a lot of that. I love special effects. I love when directors and producers and editors throw in these really cool effects. It's just something I personally enjoy in the film. And this film had a lot of both of those things. Where it falls short is some of the campiness. It definitely leans heavy into the comedy, and that's what I wanted to see. But I don't know if the comedy was executed the way that I wanted it to be. All right. So I think a lot of people will enjoy this film more than me. I think a lot of people will enjoy this film less than me. But when you look at the campiness of the film, like a lot of the jokes were very well intended. They came fast and furious, no pun intended. They seem to completely throw away the fourth wall. They didn't mind. It's like a Deadpool movie almost. It's like they knew that people were there to watch a certain thing, and they didn't feel bad or abashed about just saying it out loud. I did like some of the best parts of the film is when they go back into the very, very classic Dracula films and storyline. And I want to say, what was that? Maybe the 1700s or something like that. That's when I thought the film was most effective. It was least effective when the cop came into the film. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, of course, but her acting didn't really nail it for me. Her acting was really off for me. And anytime she was on the screen, I always felt like, okay, let me just kind of get through this part real quick and let's get back to the fun. Her acting wasn't the best, in my personal opinion. Anytime she was on the screen, just like the film kind of didn't do so well for me. And I also thought I don't know his name. I'm sorry. I don't know the guy's name. Renfield. I don't know his actual name. His acting wasn't that good either. Okay. His acting wasn't that good either. And when both of those people, the cop and Renfield were on the screen at the same time, it was almost like, all right, let's get this moving. Like the film always did well when Nicolas Cage was on the screen. It was great to see him back in action because I feel like he went through like a dry spell. I thought for a minute he was like blackballed from Hollywood. He must have had. I was like, he must be. He ain't made a sacrifice in a while because Hollywood ain't giving him no good roles. But I thought that anytime Nicolas Cage was on the screen, the film thrived. And then anytime Renfield was on the screen, it was like, okay, it's either a hit or miss. And anytime the cop was on the screen, it was like, okay, let's get this over with. And a lot of plot holes. But I tried not to look at this film that seriously. Like I didn't want to be hypercritical of a film that seems like, and that's the other thing. I wasn't really sure what audience is supposed to enjoy this film because obviously it's not a film for kids, but it has a kid-like feel. And it was very confusing. Now, I in a theater I went to, there was some children in attendance, and I was just like, "Ooh, you letting your kids watch this?" I digress. To each his own. I know my kids wouldn't dare see this film. Okay, even if they're 17, I ain't letting them see this. Okay, I'm that parent. But yeah, I just didn't understand who the market was for. Horror films, horror fans rather. Maybe that's where this film will find a safe space. Horror fans. But it was just, oh man, I can't put my finger on it. It's like they kind of took their formula for this film was, what was it? Maybe 40% horror, 30% comedy, and the other 30%, I'm not sure what the heck it was. It's just like it just was missing a lot for me. They didn't, and I'll say maybe 10%, like 20% storyline. That's where it fell short for me. The storyline. Like I said, when they go back in the past and they explain Renfield's origin and all that kind of stuff, and that 10%, just I don't know. I got to figure it out. But when they go back and they kind of look at Renfield's history, and that was my favorite part. But when it comes to present day, it's just like it's so jumbled, and the storyline for me just gets a little lost. It gets a little lost, and what I mean by that is Dracula is starting to die out, and he needs Renfield to bring these people back, and there's some inconsistencies with that because before he's fully charged up, he's still doing some pretty immaculate things. And I'm not talking about the very first scene, which I would like to just take a moment to say, excellent job to the special effects department. Goodness gracious. All right, the very first time you see Count Dracula in present day, they did a freaking amazing job because his face is falling off. I was like, yo, this is where your budget went right here. But before he's at full power, you have some thugs kind of come in and try to do some things. And man, he's kind of flying around like, why do you need Renfield if you're doing all this kind of stuff? And then I think at some point they try to recruit. Dracula tries to recruit the mafia boss of the town, and I'm just like, man, this is all over the place for me. And then Dracula kills all the people at the little meeting at the church, and then at the end of the film they're all back because they use Dracula's blood, and it gets really confusing because if his blood is that powerful, why doesn't he use it on himself? Why can't he just dump it on himself and revitalize? Maybe there's some vampire lore that I'm not privy to, and I don't need to be. I guess you could say I don't need to know all this stuff, but it just didn't make sense to me from a casual viewer standpoint. And the sister comes back. The sister of the cop comes back. This whole storyline, for the most part, kind of revolves around a cop who lost her father, and both her and her FBI sister are trying to get revenge against anybody who's involved. And apparently, there's a mafia crime city or a crime family that's running the city. So that's where it all kind of boils into. Now, I did like some of the stuff about Renfield finding the courage to stand up against his boss, which is Dracula. I did find some of that to be kind of cool. There was a couple chuckles in the film, not many, but it was a couple. A lot of the jokes kind of fell flat for me because I'm like, okay, this must be meant for like a much more immature individual. Like, I don't know if I can follow that humor, but there was at least one joke that had me cracking up. Like, a lot of profanity. So, like I said, there was a parent who felt okay to bring their child to this film. I get it. But in my opinion, it's not really a film for children, and not because of the content, even though there was some crazy stuff going on, but the profanity was at a all-time high for sure in this film. A lot of cursing for no reason. And speaking of the gore, which happens to be one of my favorite parts of the film, man, they definitely ramped it up. Lots of blood everywhere. Now, there were a couple points where the blood looked very CGI, really fake, but because the film didn't take itself too seriously, that wasn't the greatest offense. So you had that. And I hate to say this, and I'm not sure if it was because the film was boring at one point or if it was just really late, but I did fall asleep in this film. I think I fell asleep for a grand total of like 2 minutes, and I woke up like, oh, I am not about to go to sleep on this movie. I refuse to. But I think it was more or less because it was late. I don't think it was the film itself. But then again, there's still something to be said about it because you don't fall asleep on a movie that has your attention. So I think it was more like, it was like 70% me, 30% the film. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.8. Some of the highlights, the gore, some of the old-fashioned black and white scenes, I really, really enjoyed that, if you can't tell. And most importantly, the special effects, especially when you see Dracula the first time. Wow. All right, so some of the cons, though, the acting, oh, man, it's pretty bad. I understand this is more of a comedic film, so, you kind of give them a break for that, but I'm not going to give them a break for it. I think that it could have been executed a little bit better because I've seen it executed a little better. When you go to movies like Scary Movie, right? You remember that movie was like, it was campy, it was supposed to be a joke. And, it wasn't too serious, but still the acting felt real. Like I felt like the characters of Scary Movie and even Scary Movie 2, I felt like they believed they were in the movie. Like I felt like they believed that their situation was real, right? And they were just dumb people. Whereas this film, it felt like Nicolas Cage was being Dracula. And he knew he was being Dracula. It felt like whatever his guy's name is, he felt like he was being Renfield. I felt like whoever the female cop was, she was acting as if she was a cop. Like, I can see the acting, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But, you know, when you're watching an actor or actress on film, you know, you have to, like, it's their job to sell the illusion. Like, they don't know that they're acting, and you know, you're going along for that ride. It's like pretend, right? But in this case, I can feel like Nicolas Cage is playing Dracula, and that was the issue for me. I could see the acting. It was like I can see the strings as he's kind of like floating through, not literally, but figuratively speaking. But that was my issue. Some of the acting. The storyline was kind of bouncing around a lot. And a lot of times I was wondering to myself, why do they care so much about this particular situation? Or, you know, okay, the cop's father has passed away. Why doesn't that not seem more heavy? Why does it seem like something they just threw in and they're going to keep moving regardless? It just didn't have any weight. Okay. Like a lot of the story plot did not have weight. It didn't make you believe it was possible. It didn't make you believe it was plausible. So I give it a 6.8. And, you know, I want to be very clear in saying that a 6.8 is not a bad score. You know, it's only a bad score if you're comparing it to an 8 or 9 or a 10. But if you look at it for what it is, it's above average. It's strongly above average. So, you know, would I recommend it to somebody? That's a good question. Would I recommend this film to somebody? Yes, but just don't go watch it at the movie theater. I would say, man, this would be a heck of a movie to watch on a Friday when it's on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever you watch. When it's free, oh my goodness, go watch it. And even if you're watching it free, I have a feeling that you're not going to watch it all the way through on the first watch. I think you're going to have to take about a month just kind of watching, stopping, because it has a lot of dips and attention grabbingness. Is that a word? Attention grabbingness. It has some dips and it doesn't engage you for the full runtime. So that's my opinion of this film. I liked it, but there was a lot to be desired. All right. Thank you for watching.